Hi and welcome to another gaming video, and in today's video I want to ask the question, is the PSP better than the PS Vita? And that may sound like a very odd question to ask because the PS Vita is newer, far more powerful, it's got twin sticks, but the PSP is an absolutely awesome console, and it's probably the second biggest selling portable console next to the Nintendo DS. I've recently picked up a PSP. I'd forgotten just how fantastic it was, and if you're in the market for a portable PlayStation, then the PSP is probably the best place to go, especially if you're on a budget. You can pick up PSPs very cheaply, games extremely cheap, well, just everything about it, accessories, and the game selection for the PSP is far bigger than the Vita. I've owned a Vita, wasn't that impressed with what games were available. It wasn't a very successful console. I'm not sure whether it wasn't successful because there wasn't many games, or they just didn't bring out many games because it wasn't very successful. It's kind of a catch-22. But with the PSP, consoles are cheap to buy, games are very cheap to buy, and I am absolutely enthralled by my PSP at the minute. Yes, if you compare the specs, you've got the PSP with its sort of 300 megahertz processor, 32 or 64 meg of RAM, and I think about 4 meg video RAM. You compare that to the Vita with its 1 gigahertz quad core processor, 512 meg of RAM, 128 meg video RAM. The PSP really does fail in comparison in spec wise, but play a game on a PSP and you'll see just how awesome it is. I like to think that the PSP is like a portable PS2 and the Vita is like a portable PS3, and if you compare those two home consoles, they are vastly different. But there again, if you're comparing a PS2 and a PS3, while the PS2 is far less powerful, it was far more successful. I think the PS2 is still the biggest selling home console. And if I was to now going to go for a home console and I had to pick between a PS2 and a PS3, I'd go for a PS2. The game selection on it is absolutely phenomenal, and it's the same with the PSP. The games for that are fantastic. I've had PSPs in the past and recently bought one again. Started playing games like Burnout Dominator, GTA Chinatown Wars, and God of War, Chains of Olympus, and the graphics on it are superb. I'm not sure whether it's just because it's got a smaller screen than a PS2, but I was absolutely blown away by some of the graphics. Maybe it's because I've been used to playing DS's for the last few years, and no, the graphics on them aren't fantastic, but turn on a PSP and I still think graphics, gameplay, game speed is absolutely phenomenal. So the one drawback of the PSP is it only had one analog stick. If it had two, I think that would have been a whole different ball game, but it was still massively successful. And if you're on a budget or you're looking for sort of a casual games console from Sony, then I think the PSP is better for you than the Vita. I am toying with buying a Vita, but the more I play my PSP at the minute, I think it's just fantastic. And like I said, for the price, you can't go wrong with it. For the game selection, it's absolutely fantastic, and the gameplay is superb. So is the PSP better than the PS Vita? Technically speaking, no. But from a gameplay point of view and from a budget point of view, yes. So let me know what you think. Would you prefer a PSP or a PS Vita? Link, like, subscribe, enjoy.